I don't know if there are any questions that anyone might want to ask. If anyone has any questions, we have a microphone back there and we can share.
We have a microphone on the side. First, thank you, and thank you for EFOM for bringing these two priests here today. Clearly, in my long association with the school, probably the most inspirational presentation we've had on this campus. I have a two-part question. It's obvious that many people being brought into the church, hundreds and thousands. So I have a practical question and a political question. The political one first. These people are being received by chrismation, which means that they've been baptized in some way. Has there been a pushback from the Roman Catholic Church and the different Protestant groups in Guatemala? That's the first part. That's the political question.
It's a good question. I was wounded by my stepmother. And the Catholic Church, I don't know if it's the Orthodox Church does the same. I hope not. But when there is a wound in your heart, the Catholic Church, deepest wound, until it bleeds a lot and kills you. We have a lot of problems with the Catholic Church right now because we are growing so rapidly that they are becoming very afraid. So they are attacking us really hard by radio, by TV, by any means they have. But it really makes, it really helps. As soon as I hear the attacks on us, they give us more power and we get more strength from that attacks. I think it's a saving grace for us. It's a beautiful fight because we think that as much as they fight, the people get a stronger faith. I think if the church doesn't talk to us or doesn't say anything about, I would be afraid. I need that kind of a fight.
The second part is practical. We spent a few days here, and last night we were at St. Vladimir's, and I can't speak for everyone here, but I think we're all touched. I'll say that. But I'm sure, I was surprised at a lot of what's presented here. And I'm sure that there are many people, Orthodox people across the United States, who don't know any of this. What's being done to, get the rest of the country, the rest of the Orthodox and all parts of this country behind those stories? Is there anything going on about that?
Well, right now, we're trying through the OCMC, the Orthodox Christian Mission Center, to begin the process of bringing this secret to the awareness of the greater church. But up to now, it's been a secret. I met Father about, as I said in my talk, about 3.5 years ago, and I did an initial assessment with 2 other Orthodox priests from OCMC. And then after that, Father and Father Andres and Father Mikhail, who is his assistant, were ordained in 2010 by Athenagoras. I traveled down there this past year and began to see what was the magnitude of this church in more detail, and now that's why we're coming to places like this to get the word out. But we hope that you will also be the emissaries of the need, and that we hope also some of you will consider to support this work in whatever way you feel moved to do so. We're not asking you for money. You don't have to give money. Give us your prayers if you would like to come and visit. Father has always had a very welcoming hand to anyone who would come. If you would like to give us chalice sets, we have 3 chalice sets, but we have 300 communities. We need censors. We have a couple of old beat-up censors that are going with me from the States. In one of the villages that I went to, we had a Mayan censer, and I tied a wire to it and put coals in it so that I could sense the people. That's what we find when we go to these villages. So your help, your prayers especially will really go a long way, and it'll mean so much to Father. Just like I said, the little bit that I've been able to do, and I said it's very little, goes a long way there. So thank you for even coming tonight. It means a lot to Father and to me also, that you've made the effort to come and support us in the hero story.
I think also, I mean, in response to what you said, in response to your question, this is the beginning of exposing the Orthodox in the United States to what's happening in Guatemala. I mean, up until now, there are many people around the United States who know about Guatemala through the Hogar and Mother Inez and the wonderful work that they've been doing over the last 20 years or so. But now this is sort of becoming an introduction. It's a wonderful place for Father Andres and Father John to begin here at the school. And as a follow-up to the school, I've been talking to them, and if there are some students who may be interested to see firsthand what's going on, we're right now in the process of talking about possibly taking a group during spring break to go visit and to see for ourselves. And this is the more that we get people to go down and see, then the more they're going to become ambassadors in sharing the word in other parts of the United States.
Just one quick thing is, if you go to spring break, I'll go out on a limb and I'll commit this community to bring with them in the spring the Chakos and the Saints.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to echo what John said about the inspiration that you have given us this evening, both of you. Of course, I know Father John. I don't want to admit it, but I go back to that year, 1974, the beginning of my teaching career here, and you were one of the students I remember vividly from that time, and you have fulfilled everything that I foresaw then. I'm not a prophet, but in that case, it did come true. You made a couple of references to, it may have been rhetorical, but the fact that there is an openness, or the hope for openness in accepting the Mayan culture as it is. And of course, this is our Orthodox tradition, to recognize everyone's culture and to accept it as it is. So, although this may be a difficult question for you to answer, and I don't know, either one of you might, I mean, do you sense an attempt? I mean, I'm very encouraged to hear that our Ecumenical Patriarchate has been as supportive as I seem to hear that it is, because it's usually very cautious about receiving large numbers of non-Orthodox into the Orthodox Church. But have you sensed from anywhere an attempt to introduce practices or an ethos that would be even somewhat foreign to the Mayan culture?
From my perspective, no. I haven't seen that. And when I go with Father, he and I discuss everything. Anything that we bring into the church, into the parish, into the worship life. And we've talked a lot about it in terms of how to sing the music, because the people are very participatory. The idea of listening to the psalty and the priest and sitting in the pews, it would never work there. It'll die. The church will die. They have to be integrated, and they want to be. They have to be. That's the culture of the Mayan people. So I learned that, and Father has been teaching me that. So that is certainly something we embrace. And I haven't seen, they've been very open to the basics of our faith, the doctrine which Father teaches regularly to the catechists. They love the liturgy. They love it. Something about the liturgy really speaks to their hearts. Maybe the mysticism of it, the solemnity of it, I don't know, but they really resonate to the liturgy, and they really keep trying to learn it. They want to sing. We're trying to keep, so the Lord have mercy, it goes without saying. They do that, but we're, by the prayers of the Theotokos, we're working, and they want to make it their own. So we're not having, those aren't the issues for us. It's just a matter here of, I think the learning curve, till we get to that point where they feel really comfortable. We're at the very beginning of this. I'm teaching the priests how to do liturgies. I'm teaching them the Akatist, the pre-sanctified liturgy, the great compline, and other Lenten practices so that they will understand. I'm teaching them about fasting, but you know they fast there anyway all the time because meat is a big luxury. So if I eat no meat on Wednesday and Friday, well, we don't have meat anytime. That's a different world. You have to understand, when we come into these places, that we have to throw out the book and start working with them where they are.
Well, I hope and pray that what we experienced here this evening can be sent out to as many of our parishes as is possible. Because I think this is what we need to see the example of what we have just heard this evening. Some of it is known, but only among elite groups. Elite in the sense of those of us who are privileged to be here this evening to hear what we heard or to have read about it. I have read something, but it's another thing to hear what people said to us.
If I can make a little advertisement, we do have a blog. I have a blog, my wife and I have a blog. It's thewordfromguatemala.blogspot.org. So we've written a number of articles. There'll be further information about what we're doing.
Say it again.
thewordfromguatemala.blogspot.org.
The word from Guatemala.
Even if you just put the word from Guatemala in Google, it'll still come up. But so you can see more things of what we're trying to do. And we'll continue to put articles in there because we're doing this to get the word out. And we're getting hits from all over the world.
Does Spanish work for the most part as the lingua franca for the liturgy with the people, or do you have to translate out to their different dialects?
We are translating next coming week. As soon as I get there, we want to translate in Quechua. It's a major language, because the people they are asking. We want to have translation from the liturgical point of view. So they're pushing. People are pushing us to give us immediately answers about in that matter.
There are 23 dialects of the Mayan people. But the one that he mentioned is one of the major ones.
But they do all understand Spanish.
Oh yeah, no.
Not all.
No. No Spanish. They speak their own language. There is a little Spanish, I think. Okay. Difficult.
With some, not all. Some are.
Thank you both for coming here. It's been really enlightening to hear from both of you and to perceive your zeal and passion both for Christ and His church and the missionary calling that the church has. Speaking again about the liturgy, with as visually and orally and olfactorily engaging as the liturgy is and can be, I run into people in our own church here in America who have made up their own meanings for things. And I can only imagine that it would be a challenge to make sure that the meanings of the liturgies are being conveyed in a way that is appropriate for Orthodoxy to a culture completely foreign to its roots. Have you come across any of that, just in the context of liturgy? Because I know grand theological issues and everything aside, but just as far as what goes on in the liturgy, which is what people's experience of the church usually is, right, primarily. Have you run into anything that you have to sort of, well, no, this isn't actually that, it's this, or anything like that?
The good thing is that the Mayan people also have the very ritualistic people, so the processions and that part is very well accepted. And the use of incense. The use of incense is also very, very common. They're censing all the time. So they're comfortable with those practices because they are very commonly used in their own culture. So they've been very open to that. I haven't seen anything, but of course we have to explain to them what these things represent. And the clergy, and especially Father Andres, goes to great pains to do that, to make sure they understand why we're doing this. But there are many things in the culture that are very accommodating to our faith. So that's why it's a very traditional culture. So their way of life is very compatible with the Orthodox ethos. In every village they have the elders, and they run the show. The elders. You have to get the blessing of the elders if you want to go to college. If the village is going to come to the Orthodox Church, the elders are the ones that lead the way.
About a month ago, I was into a real beautiful village. We fixed the legal papers for them. And the whole community, I mean 150 families, according to, they got together with their elders and they decide we want to be Orthodox, the whole community. You mean it's about at least 500 to 700 family, people. What can you do about it, you know? We are not going to change the essential meaning of the Orthodox Church as far as the liturgical schema, the way it is given to us. But we won't change the essentials of the Orthodoxy. Maybe some accidental things we might, but the essence is going to be the same.
You said early on that there's still a long way to go on the agrarian reform that you were working with in the government. Could you speak a little bit more about the political reality of the Mayan communities and the from the top down political issues for that?
Well, maybe you see history when the people from Spain or from England or from other places in Europe came up to these lands. This land belongs to the Indians. All America belongs to the Indians, you know? So we are trying to make some kind of a justice, taking the land back that was being stole by, and we are now trying to get those land back to them. Because I think we have a moral responsibility. We left those people for 500 years without any land, and we took advantage of land. And look what they're doing here with the Indian tribes. They're giving them lots of money, and they're putting a lot of efforts to have some kind of a money coming back to them, you know, like the casinos or whatever you call it, you know. But there is a moral responsibility from the government to give it the land back to the original owners. So I am pushing for that, and I'm going to let that thing go by until I want to get what I want, the people, justice. I want justice for my people. The Indians are the right owners of the land, and we took them away from it. What they got, poverty, nutrition, and they got bad education, bad housing, bad roads. We haven't paid them, and we have a moral responsibility of paying the tremendous debt that we have for them.
Have you had any success?
Oh yes, we have, but with a lot of pride. You have to pay a big price there, you know. Sometimes people bless me in the streets, but some others tells me, you son of a gun, huh? What did I do? I don't say that word. Imagine. But and some people love me and some people hate me. You know, I have been having security for me almost 20 years, there were 8 men taking care of my security because 3 or 4 times they almost killed me. You should see, it's not easy job to put yourself in front of the huge issue of Guatemala, his land. Maybe he's not here, his land is not here, it's a big issue. Because you have a very technical society, but there is agricultural society. It's vital for Indian people, and they are the ones who work in the land, not the rich ones. The rich, they come with their helicopters, you know, taking advantage of the land. But the Indian people are the ones who give us food, because they are the ones who make the dirty work. So I think we have to, I have a debt to my people. The debt of land and the debt of dignity. To me, that's 2 important parts of people. I want them to be dignified the way they are. They're good. They're Indian but beautiful. I mean, and they deserve all respect. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, Father John and Father Andres, for blessing us with your time and energy to be here. I had a question about the catechists. What is their, could you expand a little more on their role? Are they studying to be priests? Do they perform services? Do they lead prayer services? What do they do?
That's a good question, you know. Well, we have every 2 months we get together with all the ones who preach. We have been teaching them for years how to preach and what to preach and how to do it. We call them los ministros de la fe, ministers of faith. And the catechists, there's another group, see? In total, we have about 500 people taking care of those, because we only have, let's face it, you know, we have about only 3 or 4 priests who are being in the jungles all the time. They don't have enough time to give them teaching and all this. But we are really eager to teach the Orthodox theology, Trinity, dogmas, and all the history of the church, sacraments and all that. But the other priests, they take care of them for 3 days in their own parishes to teach them how to give the first talks about ¿cómo se llama? Chrismation, about the Holy Sacraments, what do they mean to us, and why do we have to take it. See? And you should see the majority, they are very knowledgeable about the sacraments. And we're pushing to give them eventually. We are now with Father John. If you want to help us out, really help us out. We have a lack of priests. We are so few priests, and we are getting old. And if you really want to help us out, you know, we are trying to open up a seminary next coming year with maybe 4 or 5 very young men into the priesthood. If you want to have something to, if you want to help us out, I would really appreciate that. You know, we are going to open up this in January, if God wants, the new seminary for the priesthood in my country. I need it. This is the worst nightmare that I have in my mind. What am I going to do to produce sacerdotes for my community? It's very, very is one of my greatest challenges. And I'm choosing some people from the catechist or from the ministros to see if I can ordain them. See? And Father John was telling me, we need a bishop there immediately. Because the other archbishop, pues, he's always in Greece and the United States and flying from all over. And I'm not going to talk against him, but we need somebody who will take care of and rule our church.
I want to respect everyone's time, and maybe we'll have one more question, and then we can conclude, and those who need to leave can leave. Those who want to stay and continue asking questions can come up and ask them questions. But one final question do we have?
Do very many of the people that you come in contact with, are they able to read?
No.
Oh yes, yes. All are Catholics, maybe except one. Out of the 500 people, one cannot read it right. The rest, they can do that. Yes.
Well, Father Andres and Father John, we want to thank you very much. Very much for your time this week. You will be in our prayers. I'm sure all of us will be praying for you both specifically and for the church in Guatemala. And although Father John said they're not looking for any type of financial support, I think you've seen a vision of what's happening. You've heard that they have needs of some of the liturgical items. All of you can go back to your church, and I'm sure every church that all of you go to have an extra chalice set or an extra, what else did you ask other than chalice?
A chalice set, we could use censers, we could use...
Chalice, censers, and if your church doesn't have an extra one, that's when then you can give them money to buy an extra one. So I'm sure it would be wonderful if we could gather from our communities here. And if anyone wants to give any money tonight, you can give some money tonight and we'll pass it along to them to use. So please feel free to do that. Let us conclude. Again, thank you all for coming and being here to listen. And let us conclude with a prayer.
Oh Jesucristo, Dios y Señor vuestro, bendiga a las personas que están aquí ayudando a la iglesia. Ayuda también Padre Andrés y sus sacerdotes. Ayuda también la Iglesia Orthodox en Guatemala para crecer. We grant, O Lord, that this evening will be without sin and that your blessings may follow us, all of us that are here tonight, in the work of mission, for the promulgation of the gospel to all the ends of the earth, for you are holy unto the ages of ages. Amen.